Hello and welcome to this episode of the Vitality Secret podcast. I'm delighted to be here today with Parker Howell, who is an inventor of virtual reality technology that has been helping people to heal and balance their bodies. Pretty remarkable technology. So really excited to have you here today, Parker. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks so much, Neil. It's great to be here. We met over in your Wim Hof workshops, and I just have been having a great time with those, man.
Yeah, I'm so pleased to have you there. Actually, it's been transformative for a lot of people, actually, and what a great community.
It's pretty wild, right? You know, you're in Mexico. It's like that work in my mind. I classically think that would be something that everyone would meet up to do, but it's something that's so awesome to just be able to dial in essentially and have everyone show up and do the work and hang out and chat for a bit. It's really a wild world. Did you ever envision that you'd be in that world? Or
no? I mean, this is all virtual, of course. So people are signing in to do breathing together from all over the world, or mainly America, but other countries as well. So yeah. Talking virtually, this is your space. Virtual reality. What got you into this? What is your backstory? Everyone's got a backstory. Everyone who works in this space has some kind of profound result, epiphany, breakthrough. Can you talk us through yours?
Sure thing. I mean, I've been in the digital arts, filmmaking, television, directing world for the past decade, really, ever since getting out of college. I went out to Hollywood and I got into the TV industry pretty early in my career. And I got in through a show called Dancing with the Stars. And I would go on and I'd make all these crazy projection map concert visuals for all their songs. The way the world works in there is the whole thing is LED screens all the way around, and then the floor is a big projector, or it's actually 6 projectors all stitched together. And so for every different dance number, an artist like me comes in, we listen to the music, we say, okay, what's the wardrobe going to do? And then we, transport that world using digital animation. And whether it's a cha-cha or whether it's a tango or whatever kind of dance it is, whatever the number is, we bring in different visuals. And that's how we make that show as fast as we can, is instead of having to change out a bunch of sets, we change out the whole environment just as animators. So I got into the world totally through entertainment. I loved it. I love music. I play a little bit of piano and some ukulele. And so getting into the concert world, doing, visuals for Jennifer Lopez, for the Grammys, Imagine Dragons, that was really a blast for me. Fun. And then a few years into it, I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, it's fun doing the visuals, and the visuals are like one aspect of this whole show. And the other aspects is you've got lights and lasers, and you've got all these other pieces that are going on. And virtual reality was just having its whole like renaissance in a way, this whole like new world of it. It kind of come in the 80s and then left, and it kind of came back for a moment in the 90s. But it kind of felt like, wow, the technology's really arrived for someone to just have their at-home headset and be in this world. So I was in a place where I was like, I was frustrated with a lighting designer who I sent him all the notes because I was like, I wanted his robotic lights to match all of my animations on this one dubstep concert visual. And I was like meditating on it. And I was like, if somehow I could make all of this inside virtual reality, then I could control everything, the whole experience, anything that you touch inside the headset, that could be my world. And so I called up one of my best friends, another metal brother, Will Walsh. And I said, Will, we got to get into virtual reality. And he goes, okay, let's do it. He's like, how do we do it? I'm like, we got to get ourselves a virtual reality camera. He's like, okay. It's like, let's figure that out. And so I called around, I looked, and I found a camera that was in beta testing. And it was just this kind of perfect little prosumer level virtual reality camera. It was made up of actually 8 different lenses, and all 8 different lenses are 4 sets of stereo pair eyes, and it would create a full 360 stereo graphic image that you could then do in the headset. And that was kind of my foray into the world. I shot a spec piece with some of the Adidas team with it. And then the creators of the camera company basically came to me and they were like, Parker, this is awesome. We love what you're doing with it. Our problem is we've made this incredible big piece of technology, and we don't have anyone who can make it human. We don't have anyone who's actually going out and telling a story with it. And they're like, so if you're interested, we will fund you to just go make a short film with it, whatever you want. And they're like, and here's the kicker. It's like, you need to make a short film, and it can't be overproduced. It can't look like a $1 million Hollywood film. You need to make something that looks like it is something that anyone could do, kind of like a home movie type thing. And I was like, oh wow, that's a really fun thing to experiment with, like kind of that lo-fi yet meets virtual reality experience. And so that's where this film idea that we came up with, which is a first-person VR kung fu film called Confucius Vr, came from. And the camera company was like, we love it, go for it, here's the cash, go make this thing. And that was really the beginning of a lot of kind of hacking the human consciousness through VR. One of the things that we did in that experience is we said, okay, what can we do to make it more than just sight and sound? And there's a really fun piece of technology from the music world called a sub pack, if you've ever heard of that. It is a wearable subwoofer system. And what we would do is we would put it on backwards so that you would wear it on your chest instead of your back. And in this whole kung fu experience, whenever you get hit by a ninja or anything, we played sub audible frequencies in the film, so you feel all the impacts of these kung fu experience inside this chest pack. And so we're like, okay, cool, now we've got haptic feedback. And then that led to another like kind of realization, and I was like, okay, well, what else can we do with it if we're already including this in the piece? And so there's a point in the film where literally you're hanging off the side of a building. And literally in order to do it, I had to wear this VR helmet this VR camera strapped to a helmet. And I'm hanging off the side of a 4-story building in Hollywood with my feet dangling down below. And we took that same sub-audible frequencies and we made it a heartbeat. So when you're up there, now you have this heartbeat, and we're just like bump, 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 bump. We're like making it slowly race and race and race, and just the effect that has on people. You can see like the beads of sweat coming down their face.
Wow.
And so I'm just loving this. We put the film out like immediately. The film festival in town out in LA was like, yeah, we want your VR here. And like, we were like, brought it in and did the whole show. And they ended up giving us like the grand jury award for virtual reality, like a few weeks after we were done with the film. It was pretty sweet. And it was just that feeling of like, we're really, I think filmmaking is kind of the same, where filmmaking is hacking consciousness, but we're also used to it. One of the things about film, it's like the visuals are very much the conscious part. And then the music, which is all this kind of like romance era, like strings and violins, like that's all playing in the human subconscious. And it's funny, to some extent, it's replicating a dream. When you're in a film, it's like everyone's in this kind of shared dream type space. And so, that's what was exciting about moving into VR. Is like, one, the look of people when they came out of it, they like take their headset off and they got these wide eyes and they're looking around like, holy shit, am I back
what
in
just happened?
Reality? Yeah. And then two, just feeling like, it's like, wow, we really get to be kind of mad scientists in this space, and all my training in film and music and digital arts, it all just led so perfectly into it that I was just hooked. And there's been these waves of VR since it became popular in the past 5-6 years, where it was really popular and all this money came flowing into it. And then people had a hard time figuring it out, or people had a hard time getting their hands on a headset. And then it ebbs and flows. And like the latest like version of it is Facebook changing its name to Meta, which I just realized, like at first I was like, okay, that's interesting. I'm like, the metaverse is conceptually interesting, but I didn't realize what an impact that has on the world. It really kind of brought everything into this kind of crystal clear focus for everyone. And I think it's also to some extent the pandemic and Zoom is we are already living and breathing. We're doing literally Wim Hof breath in this little version of the metaverse that's 2-dimensional on Zoom. And so I think the path forward into being more present in that space is really clear, I think a lot of people are really able to visualize it. And I think a lot of people are generally a bit annoyed by it. Like the image in their mind of what it's going to be is ugly. Yeah. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence. I think it's exciting. And at the same time, I don't want us to get separated from nature, because I think the more we get separated from nature, the more we fall out of touch with who we are, basically. And nature is there. And if the closer we are to nature, I've found the more we can heal ourselves and heal our bodies and be happier and more fulfilled and more connected and all of those things. But I think with the right balance, we can have both.
I agree. Doesn't it feel like when you, like back when I was living in LA, like you leave the city for half a day and you go hike through the woods, and doesn't it just feel like it's just washing away the city? It's washing away the honking horns and everything. And it brings you the sense of rejuvenation. And
100%. Yeah.
It's so necessary. That was really my rule back when I was living in LA is once a month minimum, you got to leave the city. You got to go out and you got to, vision quest out in Joshua Tree or the mountains.
Yeah. Totally. Vision quest. Brilliant. I'd work in London, and whenever I got the train back home in the evening to go to Brighton on the south coast, I felt like I could breathe. I was back in, I saw the ocean. I was like, I can see, I can feel connected again. That's how I feel when I leave the city. So I think with the right balance, this technology can be incredible. So let's get into what you have created.
I was going down this road of entertainment. So I go from entertainment, I go from TV into virtual reality, and then the pandemic hits, and LA, everything comes just like screeching to a halt. Everything is just like ends up in this limbo of uncertainty. It's like we're going to lock down for 2 weeks, maybe more, we'll see. And everything is just slowing down. And it was kind of wild because I had COVID before it was a big known entity. I had it in January of 2020. I got on a plane flight back coming through China from Thailand, and I was pretty dang sick. And then it was only like through March that everything started to I started to realize that that's actually what it was. But I never had that like panic of like, if you had gotten sick like right in March, they were telling you had like a 10% chance of living or dying or whatever it was. And so I kind of was in this place where I was like, I want to keep going. I want to keep working. I want to keep being a part of, I want to keep doing my life. And then my godfather, my uncle, got really sick and he ended up in the hospital. And it was this kind of moment where the whole family was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Everyone's like, we'll just pray for him, just take some time and send him some love. And I remember I was meditating on it, and I was asking the universe, I was like, I've survived essentially. And how can I be of service? How can I use what I have to be of service to people? And this experience came to me, boom, like a lightning bolt. And it was the cosmic looking glass, and it was a whole meditation experience inside virtual reality. And it came from a bit of Reiki and a bit of Kundalini yoga and hypnosis training that I'd had. And the idea inside the space is one, it takes you into virtual reality, put on the headset, and you end up in this whole altered world. You end up sitting literally at the edge of the universe, and you're looking at this spiral and galaxy. And the first thing that it has you do is it's just like connect with your breath, like slow it down. And the same way that we played with your heartbeat back in Confucius Vr, for the breath, we just did a thing where we just made that galaxy do a slow, pulsating, rhythmic light. And we're just like, follow that light and breathe with the light. And I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to feel shifted, do this experience for 12 minutes, breathe deeply for 12 minutes, and you are going to come out a different person. And so this is the experience. You go in, you're breathing, and it takes you inside your body, and it takes you through a whole process of listening in through your system. And as you go through that system, you do one round that's listening, and then you do a very classic Kundalini technique which is visualizing, sending healing light into your body. And what was really awesome at the time is there was this beta feature through Oculus Quest where the optical trackers on the Oculus Quest can literally see your fingers and your hands. And so your hands can be seen inside virtual reality. And so what we did is we made it so that when you're guiding this energy through your body, you see the energy coming through your fingertips. You see a ball of light going through the parts of your body. And the whole idea is like, it's basically an old neurolinguistic programming principle that is, your brain is all these different compartments, all these different processors, all these different pieces. And if you want to make something more impactful, you reach out to more of the pieces of the brain. So we're working on healing. We're working on going inside our body. It's a proprioceptive sense. It's that ability to send consciousness in there. But when you connect it then with visual stimuli and you connect it with audio stimuli, you're just writing more layers of code inside the brain. And so what ended up happening is we created something that is just, it's heightening your body's own natural ability to heal.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so this is, I'm like, this is the perfect use case of this VR. I'm like, wow, people can heal. And so I put this whole piece together, and it was one of those things where like, everything was down in LA. I had about 3 weeks off, and in 3 weeks, boom, I went, and my roommate had a recording studio. We recorded all the meditation. We put the music tracks to it. I programmed the whole thing. In like 3 weeks, I had this piece, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then literally it was the week later that Oculus Quest said, okay, listen, the hand tracking that was been in beta, like, we're just going to release it. Now, anyone who wants to use it, go for it with the hand tracking. I was like, wow, that's cool. And so I kind of asked the universe again, I'm like, what should I do? And it's just like, just put it out there. Just put it out there for free. People can donate if they want. It's on SideQuest VR, and just see what happens. See what happens as people use it. And I got really great responses for it. And I was like, okay, this is cool. That's what kind of led me into meeting Sean Enton, who is our dear friend from Metal. So Sean Enton is an amazing man, former UFC producer, promoter. He worked in the film industry for years, just a dynamo of a person. 10 years ago, he suffered a stroke that like took his life as he knew it away from him. The doctor comes into his hospital room and says to him, Sean, you're never going to walk again. Don't think about going back to work. You're never going to drive. You're never going to do any of these things. What you need to do right now is just accept that, and accept that your life is never going to be the same. And Sean, like that warrior spirit that he is, he's in his wheelchair. It's just like, all right, you're fired. I need someone who's going to come in here and say what I can do. What are the steps to heal, and how do I get there? So Sean has been on this like decades long journey to regain his life. And he's done everything from oxygen training to working with a personal trainer every day in and out. And he's going, I'm the stroke hacker now. I'm going to figure out how to get this back. And he is such an inspiration today. He walks just fine. He drives a car, and he's always working. And so we connected over UFC and jiu-jitsu, and he's like, you got to come over, Parker. You got to come over to my laboratory, and we're going to put you through the oxygen. We're going to put you through the training rounds. You're training jiu-jitsu. I want you to see this, and I want you to see the improvements that you get from it. And so I came over there. I started training with him, and that's when I brought over the VR. And he's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Just try it. Just breathe deep. See what you do." And he was in there, and his mind was just racing 1,000 miles per hour. And he comes out of it, and he's just like, "Parker, I've never experienced anything like it." And he's like, "Furthermore, I haven't looked at my hand in the past decade. To me, it was just a dead limb. And then inside virtual reality, I can see my hand." He's like, "Parker, do you think that this could help me get mobility back? Do you think if we worked inside this space, we could reconfigure this and figure this out?" And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know, but step one is you have to believe you can, and you have to do the work. And Sean's like, well, I'm here to do the work. That's all I'm here to do. And so we were there with his trainer, and I was like, well, let's do this. Let's just have you do this cosmic looking glass experience, for the next week. And let's kind of see if we can chart any improvement or any change. And so I kind of sent them on their way. And then I went and I started researching stroke and stroke therapy and everything that was going on. And when I came back the next week, I brought my VR camera with me, and I sat Sean down and I said, listen, Sean, we're gonna make you a custom experience. And so I walked him through all these different exercises, and we basically set up the camera to get a first person capture of his world. And the left side of his body is the side that still suffers from paralysis. And so we had him do all this exercises with his right hand as if it was his left hand, waking up, coming back to life, opening up and releasing. And I took it home, and over the next week, I recreated a whole VR module for him where we switch his hands. And so when he's in VR, he puts on the goggles. He hears our other friend Sam Morris's voice coaching him through it. He looks down at his hand, and Sam says, "Okay, Sean, we're gonna lift it up today, and we're gonna open our hand up." And he looks at it, and he does the exercise, and he sees his hand open, and he sees it waking up. And the whole idea is essentially like the part of his brain that handles the motor function for the left side of his body is the part that's damaged. But all the neurons, everything's still connected. The nervous system's still there. He still has feeling. It's just a matter of, can you migrate that mobility, those processes, to another part of the brain? And it's that same neurolinguistic programming piece where it's just like, let's connect him physically, kinesthetically, trying to make the movements happen with his brain visually seeing it happen, along with the audio part, which is Sam saying, "You've got this, you can do this, this is good," boom. And as you do that, the brain starts to rewire and starts to go different places. And again, I looked at Sean, I was like, "Sean, do this. So you've already got your training, wake up, do your training, get your cardio up, go into the cosmic looking glass, let your brain kind of settle, breathe into it. And then once you feel good, once you feel calm from the cosmic looking glass, do this neuroplasticity trainer. And let's just see what happens." And so 2 weeks later, he calls me up and he goes, "Parker, you're never going to believe what happened." And I'm going, what happened? And he goes, "Today, at the end of my training session, when I was done with the VR, I went to take my headset off of my head and I couldn't get it off my head." And I'm like, "Okay, what's that mean?" He's like, "I couldn't get it off my head because my left hand had ended up on top of my head and was pinning it down to my head." And I was like, "Is that a
good thing?"
Yeah, it's like, "Yeah, is that a big thing?" It's like, "Parker, I haven't moved my arm a fraction of that in years."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Holy crap." I'm like, "All right, well, keep working. And as soon as I can, I'm going to get the film crew together. We're going to come over and we're going to take some video and see what's going on." And so, I go over there, and the next time I see him, he's like, "Watch this." He lays down on the ground with a bar, and he's now bench pressing a bar.
My goodness.
It was one of those. Go on. Yeah.
Bearing in mind he's been paralyzed in that arm the whole time for the last 11 years or so.
Yeah.
So
And
that's extraordinary.
And the whole piece that we built is based off pre-existing technology that is trying to do essentially the same thing, trying to connect visual and kinesthetic senses and rewire. And in the literature, they're like, you could possibly see some improvement in like 6 months. And for Sean, I mean, and who knows, Sean is such a powerful manifester when it comes to this. He's just like, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to make it happen. But he was seeing like really dramatic improvement in the first couple of weeks.
That's extraordinary. One thing I'm thinking of right now is, the word visualization. You're familiar with Joe Dispenza, aren't you?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry?
Very much. Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. So what you've done is created a technology. This is how I'm seeing it, that enables visualization or facilitates visualization to create that neuroplasticity. For those of you who aren't aware, with Joe Dispenza, he has a fascinating story because he was injured in a bike accident and he was paralyzed. And he's been, he's a chiropractor, neuroscience researcher, and quantum physicist, and all of these different trainings. And he, through the power of visualization every single morning, I can't remember the time frame, it took quite a few months, but he would visualize the spine falling or recreating itself or falling back into place, basically with the vertebrae that were out of place. He would visualize the perfect alignment of the spine. And one morning he just felt everything kind of pop back into place, and he just got up and walked away. So, he leads with that, with how he helps other people visualize and heal their bodies, not just physically or not just musculoskeletal challenges, but also illness and disease. Through visualization, we can heal ourselves. And we need to get into the most incredible elevated consciousness state or elevated state, and really feel into the feeling of everything kind of working and as it should be working. Ultimately, recreating the feeling is the prayer that we've heard from all kind of spiritual teachings, but it's all about feeling it and believing it and knowing that it's already done, already healed, because that's how powerful we are when we hack consciousness. I love that term that you used. So you're enabling that, you're facilitating this is how I'm seeing it, facilitating the work of the likes of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing, right? Because, a lot of Joe's work is you close your eyes and you visualize it, which is another track. It's one thing to look at a guided meditation. It's another thing to close your eyes and visualize it. And, there is definitely room for both. And when I think about virtual reality, I think about what's always the low hanging fruit. Like, what's the piece that it works well. Like, for instance, a lot of times when I'm thinking about like what's the future of this technology, and I never want to be in a place where I'm like, we're going to replace healers, we're going to replace all these people who are doing the shamanic work. But I think of it as, how can we extend their reach? How can we, say someone's working with you, Neil, and they come in for an hour a week to do training with you, that's as much time as they have. But then you, I'm sure, are giving people homework, and you're saying you got to go home and do this. In my world, I want to create experiences for all these healers who it's like, here you go home, here's your regimen, you're going to do this experience, this, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it's just another touch point, And I think at the end of the day, all of this virtual reality, metaverse, extended reality, all these words that kind of cover this whole gamut of experiences, I think those all work really well with everything else. Like, everything needs to be kind of a holistic approach. And you're never going to replace the healer. Like, there's never going to be anything better than a one-on-one or even like a group session with, a Tony Robbins style guy who's going to get up there and you're going to feel the presence of that human being who's going to say, you can do anything, anything's possible. But it's, what do you do when you walk away from that? That's the thing where people really have a challenge. It's like, how do you stay the course? Because really, if you want to make change in your life, you need to be able to create habits. And that's what I really like. And that's what I feel like this virtual reality section of it allows you to do. It's like, listen, I'm going to plug into this 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, and I'm going to just change that alpha wave. I'm going to change that brain state. And I'm going to do that for a week and see what it feels like. See if the way with which the world appears to me, reacts to me, the way with which I react to the world, if that can change. So yeah, it's
remarkable. Yeah. I think just tapping back or circling back to what you said earlier, you're facilitating or enhancing one's own body's ability to heal itself.
Yeah.
Which is ultimately what we're all doing anyway. We are our own healer. Other people can facilitate it, like healers, like shamanic healers, like any kind of modality. But ultimately, we are our own best healer. So you're using technology in a brilliant, conscious way to facilitate one's ability to tap into their own power to heal themselves. I think that's remarkable.
100%. And, like you said, there is nothing more healing than the human body. The human body is doing all the work. If you're looking at, the pharmaceutical industry or shamanic herbs or spices or whatever. It's like those are all just trying to like send signals to the body for the body to heal itself, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I was just going to say, a lot of people find visualization difficult. It's not like a skill that we all have like this and we can just do it. And it can be arduous to do it every single day for extended periods of time, visualize what you want to create for your body or in your life, whatever it is. It can be a bit of a chore. And
it's a muscle for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You have to train that muscle. So your technology can be not just facilitating it, but making it enjoyable and fun. It's the same thing. But it's yeah, I think it's remarkable. What were you going to say? I just kind of interrupted you. Sorry.
No, you're spot on with the visualization, and it's a muscle, and it's like so many things. You know, I get frustrated when I look back at like my childhood textbooks. It's like, here are the 5 senses, and I'm like, you guys really shouldn't be skimping on the senses. Like, there's like, if you're going to be teaching someone anything about the universe, you should teach them about, you know, your vestibular, your proprioception, your kinesthetic senses. Like, that really needs to be in there. And I get it that it's easy to say, you know, sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. I get that that's easy, but you should really go the extra step, because it's really important for people to know, you know, what their hardware is. And so it's like the visualization that is, okay, here, boom, I'm showing you this energy ball inside the universe. That's trying to stimulate people's proprioceptive senses, which most people, if you say, go in and close your eyes and listen to your stomach, what is your stomach saying? Most people can do it, but most people don't do it. You know, most people don't have that connection. They're disconnected from their body, but it's such a primal sense that you say, close your eyes and feel it, they'll do it and it'll work. And then you say, okay, close your eyes and tell it to relax and relax it like that. And they're like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that.
Breathe and take yourself out of sympathetic and into parasympathetic. You can do it in a minute. Most people won't do it. Absolutely.
You know, it was funny. I was reading Carl Jung's Red Book, which is a pretty wild kind of psychedelic experience. Carl Jung, he's this neo-Freudian who's basically said you gotta look into the shadow side. You gotta look into all the subconscious world of what you are and all these repressed ideas and emotions and things that you're trying to push away from. It's like the more energy that's being spent in this world is energy that's not mastered. It's not energy. You need to bring light into it. And the book is really a wild book in that it's so psychedelic, it's so surreal, and it really chronicles a lot of his wild visionary nature, because this is a guy who sees the world through visions. Like, he has these wild, fantastic, almost Salvador Dali-esque visions of symbols and signs of what's important in life. And then he writes it down, and then he like decodes it as to how is this the nature of mankind's soul. And in that book, it was just talking about his ability to visualize. And I found a really interesting challenge, a way to like lift that muscle, and it is to learn how to play blindfolded chess, of all things. And
interesting.
And it's really wild, because what you have to do is you have to start simply. You say, like, what are the squares? How do they work? And you put a logic to it, and you write numbers on one grid and you put letters on the other axis, and then you go, okay, what's the logic of where these squares are? And you close your eyes. And then once you start to visualize a system for being like, okay, if someone says 1A or 5C, like, what color is that square on a chessboard? And so as you start to do it, you start to piece this out. And it was wild, because I started doing this practice and I was like, theoretically, this should be doable. Theoretically, anyone could learn this if they just really go in and spend the time on it. And it was wild, because like a week into kind of trying to do all this visualization work, I had a lucid dream where I was doing it. And in my lucid dream, I could see the chessboard perfectly. And I was like, oh, well, if I can dream it, then surely that's my system doing it. And then I was like, okay, we can do it. And then once I started to actually do it, it unlocked a whole world of visualization. Because when you sit down to play a chess game and you've got your blindfold on, and you're now doing that kind of classic kind of strategic thinking about the world for an extended period of time, you're in there and you're blind. You are relating to the world in a way unlike anything you've ever done before, because suddenly all of the world just exists in a visualization. It's almost like conjuring up a lucid dream in waking life. And it's all wild. And I'm talking about all this stuff. I'm like, where does it all go? And that's like why I love this virtual reality space, because I'm like just fascinated with the mind. Like, how can we use it? How can we play with it? And the virtual reality just becomes the perfect laboratory for like, how do we hack into it, you know? And right now it's very simple. It's like, to some extent, it's low resolution. You know, it's like not even necessarily the best graphics compared to like what's happening on the Xbox right now. But as everything grows, as people figure out new pieces to attach to it, haptic sensors and feedback, you just look at it and you're just like, this is a part of the world that is going to blow people's mind. Like, what's going to happen in that space in the next 10 years is going to be unfathomable. And that's the excitement for me. That's like what keeps me coming back. And then to just really feel connected to this part of the healing process. It really feels like something to wake up and be excited about, you know?
Yeah. And getting back into the driving seat, knowing that we can heal ourselves.
Yes.
And whichever tools that we have to enhance that, then go for it. And you're enabling that. I love that.
And to some extent, it might be the way with which a younger generation, you know, they take their leap into the world, you know? It's like, it's exciting to people. And to some extent, it feels more exciting to younger people than older people. A lot of, you know, like we said with the metaverse, they're like, I don't know. This seems like a lot. I don't play video games. I don't want to be in that world. But it's like a lot of the message of the experiences that I create, it's this kind of message of like, hey, I want you to go here, but I don't want you to stay here. Like, I want this to be, if you're Buddha going to sit under the Bodhi tree, go sit under the Bodhi tree, get your message, and then get back to life. Like, get back out there, you know? Don't get sucked into this world and stay there forever, because life is waiting for you.
Oh, for sure. My nephew introduced me to the Oculus headset when I was back for Christmas in England. And I was pretty blown away. I mean, I'm not a fan of the games he plays. I mean, he's 15. I'm not. But I can totally see the attraction in it. And it, you know, this technology being used for good as well as, you know, fun and entertainment. Yeah, it's exciting to think where this is going. You know, the whole world of virtual reality, augmented reality. I just hope we're not just sat in our bathrooms with our headsets on, just ignoring the world outside, you know. I mean, that's obviously an extreme, but it's some people might go that way and they'll have their headset on all day, every day and forget about nature. But yeah, I think the fine balance and using this to our advantage. And I think it's exciting. You can make the human body fun. You can make healing fun. You can make visualization fun with all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, fun's a great word for it. And it's just like with film and video and audiobooks and all these other pieces, they naturally, people are already naturally multitasking, you know. It's like, I'm going to listen to my meditation tape while I drive to work, while I'm flipping people off in my car, you know, while people are honking at me while I'm going through all that stress. It's like, when you create an experience that has to be done inside a headset, it's like, it demands your entire attention, you know.
That's true. Yeah. So you're unitasking, aren't you? Which is how our brains are designed. A brain isn't an octopus.
Yeah.
I used to have a website called waystofocus.com, It was all around focusing the mind, and I was curating content for years because I used to find it really hard to focus. And there's tons of studies showing that when we multitask, we actually harm the brain, unless we do like intentional multitasking, like event management or something. But if we're constantly switching tasks, which is what it really is, it's task switching, it takes time for the brain to get back in. And the more that we do it, the more the brain actually suffers. And a Harvard study shows that chronic multitaskers become forgetful, they can't focus, they got ADD, and these things like depression, because we end up just never being present. We're just constantly, it's like we're in a pinball machine. So that's a really good point you just made. This can help you unitask, unifocus, and stop task switching and be completely present for just however long it is. How long is a normal session? I guess it depends, right? Give you 10, 15, 30.
Yeah, so like the Cosmic Looking Glass is a 12-minute experience, and to some extent it's like I kind of say, I'm like, don't do VR for more than 20 minutes, just like kind of go in. And it's like when you start out too, it's a muscle. You can't really be in VR for a long time because there's a certain part of your brain that's like, this isn't real, like what's going on? Like,
how is it in terms of safety for the eyes? Because I'm being in health and wellness, I'm quite familiar with blue light and how it affects the brain. Are there ways to protect the mind or the brain and the eyes with these headsets?
Well, talk to me a little bit more about the blue light, just so I can understand.
Blue lights from our screens, blue light from office building lights, those strip lights. Constant exposure to this artificial light affects the brain chemistry. It affects the melatonin production, serotonin. It affects it, and it's known to be to affect us in a way that affects sleep, for example, which is where most healing tends to take place, and we reduce inflammation, and lots of magic happens in our sleep. But if we're exposed to blue light just before we sleep, for example, which is why we're meant to come off our screens at least an hour before sleep, it can affect sleep, and then it affects the body's ability to regenerate and heal. So that's why the biohackers are wearing these blue light glasses. My nephew, I'm sure he mentioned something about VR, the VR headset having a blue light protector in it, the Oculus headset.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is an option for that. I mean, the same way that it's like, what's the solution to multitasking? The solution to multitasking is unitasking, like you're saying, or zero tasking. It's just full on meditation. It's like, I'm going to be nothing. Like that's. I think that you would. One of the modalities of working inside a healing virtual reality experience would be just creating experiences that are working highly in color theory and color therapy. So to some extent, that is Cosmic Looking Glass is my own kind of design decisions. It's kind of my intuition of how the colors work for you. But I do definitely see the possibility of creating whole experiences that are really focused on color and soundscapes that are working together in harmony to go after emotional states. I've just got my notebooks, and I'm just like, what's this thing? How's it work? We've been using it for 1,000 years. Okay, let's figure out what that would look like in VR. Like, is that low hanging fruit, or is that something that I need to wait for Neuralink to come through? It's like, if it's something that I'm like, it's been proven for 1,000 years, but I think would work well with the modalities that we have. That's like, okay, let's see if we can go and bring that into fruition.
Brilliant. I love it. We're almost on the hour. You're making me think this could be really beneficial for my father. I don't know if I told you the story. Maybe I did. He's one of the reasons I got into health and wellness about 10 years ago. He suffered a stroke like Sean, although Sean, I believe Sean was 39, wasn't he? And my dad was in his 60s. But seeing what has happened to his brain since with multiple strokes, I can see how someone like him can use this headset really to their advantage and help him do the things that he needs to do and make that fun. Because my experience working with a lot of clients is some people just don't like doing the work, as you said, So whatever we can do to make the work fun and not make it work, I think is going to be really powerful and help us to tap into our own body's power to heal itself and also alter our world around us. I mean, if we can visualize change in our world external to the body as well, using something like what you've created, how cool is that going to be? So it's
well, with your father, it's like the number one thing is like, first and foremost, that he believes that it's possible and that he has the desire to go after it.
Yeah, Sean has that for sure. Like I can, I shall, I will is his slogan, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's definitely got that mentality, and it shows out the power of the mind, the placebo, the science of the placebo. It's very real. It's very real, isn't it? The placebo. And if you don't have that belief, what kind of foundation do you have to start with? So yeah, I totally agree. Got to start with belief and knowing, really, not just belief. I think it's knowing that the body can heal itself. Knowing that the science of epigenetics is telling us that with the right environment, the body can heal anything. It can regenerate organ tissue. And it's all about the environment in the body that signals our genes. It's not actually the genes that trigger the illness. So if we can create a harmonious environment in the body, you mentioned the word harmony a few minutes ago. That was my word of, I think, of 2019. If we can have a harmonious system in the body, everything's functioning well. So,
and like you said, like you said earlier, the trick is making that fun. Is once you get into that state of like, I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to do these things and I'm going to feel better, like that becomes fun. And when that becomes fun, then it becomes this habit, and it's like it puts a smile on your face. It's why you've got the group that does Wim Hof every morning. Is everyone walks away like, yes, I did it. This is my win. This is my first thing in the morning. Like, here I go. I'm going to take on the world. And that is fun. That is
with a bit of heart and brain coherence at the end. You're in this high frequency state. And yeah, it's just, I was going to ask you about the heart and brain coherence, because I think that would be an amazing thing to create with this VR tech and partner with someone like the Heart Math Institute or something. You're familiar with them?
Absolutely. Yeah. To go in and do that work. I mean, I'm looking at what I've got right now, and I keep talking about low hanging fruit, but ultimately I see us in a place where we've got an algorithm that you're talking to inside VR, and you're explaining where you're at, and it's listening, and it's going, okay, here's the experience for you. Like you need this kind of coherence. You need this. You want to feel these emotions. You want to go in and decode your shadow. It's like you're having a literal verbal conversation with someone, and
that's extraordinary.
And it's just shaping for what you need. And I'm like, that's where this is all going to go. That's, so I'm like, I gotta make these. I gotta get them out there. I gotta help people with what I can now, and try and set myself up to be in a place to really use what this technology is going to become.
That's amazing. I just had another thought of visualizing blood flow. A lot of illness is down to poor blood flow. And there's technology out there like, well, I don't need to go into the devices, but there's technology that raises a frequency in the body, which gets the blood flowing again. You could even do that with virtual reality, I think. If you can, with knowing the power of the mind to kind of command our cells, imagine we could just kind of visualize blood flow, like heightened blood flow, visualize all of the organs functioning optimally, imagining the gut working, the heart pumping perfectly, and seeing all that happen and feeling into it with the use of these senses that you've talked about. I wrote a word down and I can't remember what it was now, but there's different senses that you've enabled to be used inside the headset that we enable the feeling state. I can't remember the word you used.
Proprioception.
Thank you. Yeah. So with all of that, I think it's exciting what you're creating and this world we have ahead of us.
Yeah, it's like low hanging fruit. Are people already doing visualization to move the blood around? Like when I think about like blood flow, I'm thinking about like what's the most fun way to get people into like states of light cardio, To some extent that is that Wim Hof or that Tumo breath, bits of yoga and pieces of that. And then, like you're saying, it's like creating a visualization that goes along with it, creating something that's really having you directed. It would be really cool. That'd be a fun project.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of mental rehearsal as well. I mean, that's kind of what visualization is in a way, but sometimes it can be really specific, like mentally rehearsing playing the piano. Joe Dispenza talks about these studies where they had people visualize playing the piano, and then they had another group who were playing the piano, and after a certain period of time, they found that they're almost identical. So the power of visualization actually enabled people to learn how to play the piano. And the same goes for working out in the gym. They talked about these experiments where they would have a group in the gym actually working out and doing curls, and then a group visualizing doing curls just by meditating and visualizing. And they found that the muscle mass gained in the group that were just visualizing. Yeah. Not quite to the extent of the actual physical, but it was close.
Well, it's a really interesting truth about bodybuilding in general. Is it's like the classic thought is that you have to tear that body down to build it back up, but really it's not even the tearing down that's happening. It's literally the neurological signals and the hormones that are being created through that process that are building you up. So to say that you could do it and harness that, just by visualizing it or whatever brain state it takes, that's all that it really is in the first place. The exercise is just the stimulation to get those adrenals and those other endorphins flowing, that go and tell your body, okay, we're going to make muscle mass today. So it's
amazing.
It's possible. And I mean, like the Iceman, he's a guy who's just like, I'm just going to figure it out. He's like, my body is my laboratory. How are we going to do this? How are we going to make this something that I can do and then share with the world? And it's exciting. It's a really exciting.
It's really exciting. Yeah. Thank you for all that you're doing.
Oh man. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. I can see you making massive impact in the world. Love it. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I ask you a question to kind of wrap up the interview?
Sure. I guess I'll just take a second to talk from a business standpoint. I've got these experiences, and I am used to producing things for the commercial world and concerts and whatever, and working with teams of 70 people to bring them about. And I have done that with the entertainment, and a lot of these newer versions of this healing work I've been doing on a very small scale. And if this is something that if your audience from a business standpoint is really interested in, I'm trying to figure out how to scale these things up, how to get them out to more and more people. So if there's someone out there who's listening and thinks that they could be of help, then I put it out to you. Reach out to me. My website's parkerhowell.com, and would love to connect.
That was going to be my next question before my primary question, I always ask a specific question at the end. parkerhowell.com is where people can find you. Yes. Parker Howell, Howell.
Yep.
I'll put that in the show notes. I always ask my interviewees what your number one vitality secret is.
I mean, the number one vitality secret is breath and light cardio every day.
That's two.
but they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah, we can go with it. Yeah. Oxygen.
Oxygen. Just if you can get oxygen, it's like what I said. I'm like, if all you do is breathe for the next 12 minutes, like deeply, that will change your state. Guaranteed.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Guaranteed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Parker. It's been a real pleasure and honor having you on the show. I'm really excited to see where your business is going and the impact you're going to make. And I've got a few ideas of how I could possibly help scale as well. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Neil. It's great to be here. And I look forward to waking up early with you and doing
see you in the morning for some Wim Hof and some heart and brain coherence. Awesome. Thanks, Parker.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Vitality Secret podcast. If you liked this, please leave a 5-star rating. And if you loved it, please take a few minutes to leave a review. The more ratings and reviews that are left, the easier it is for this life-changing information to get into the hands of people who need it. Reverse chronic illness, strengthen your immune system, and build resilience at vitalitysecret.com.